John, at one point today, you threw 15 straight strikes. Was that your plan today to really pound the zone?
I mean, I think it's kind of everyone's plan to start throwing strikes. I mean, that just kind of like what happened, really.
Tom and then Kevin.
John, the offense has been kind of struggling for a week, and that's obvious, but you guys have all been pitching well too. Did you feel like any added pressure, though, tonight and just going out there and just trying to do all you can to keep them as limited as possible?
I mean, not really. I mean, the hitters have always had our back. We just got to keep chugging outside of – I mean, we have no control over the hitters. We just keep pitching. That's about it.
Kevin?
Yeah, John, I'm just curious, this is your home finale today. You kind of tip your cap to the family and friends that were in the stands. How do you reflect on this season playing in front of limited fans? What has it been like for you guys, and how have you managed to try to maybe summon your own energy through it all?
I mean, I think we kind of just feed off each other, really. Like, one guy does good, just keep feeding. Like, you don't really have to look up at the fans to know that your brother's next to you.
All right, two more, John and then Dustin.
John, Grant Richardson had another play today where he ran into a wall for a fly ball. What does that say about Grant as a player, and what do you think when you see him go into the wall like that?
Got my back. I know that 100%. I owe him big time for that one.
All right, last one for John goes to Dustin.
John, obviously in a normal year when you had midweek games, that would probably be your role, and you'd probably get used to the idea of having starts and kind of having a sense of how long you'd be going from game to game. You obviously, I think this is your fourth start of the year. I mean, how do you approach these? How do you think it's different than it might have been in a normal year? And I mean, did you go in knowing it was going to be about four for you? Just how did you try to approach this role today?
I mean, honestly, I didn't really know how long I was going to be allowed to pitch. Say I threw on Saturday. I only threw 12 pitches, but I'm still on like a limited rest, so I didn't really know how long Coach Parker would let me stay in. But I think in a normal year, like getting used to the midweek role would be a lot easier, but this year is different, so he's got to all adapt to it.
All right, thank you, John.
Thank you.
All right, we've got outfielder Grant Richardson. We'll start with Carl, then go to Tom.
Grant, when they switched pitchers to Brock there in the eighth, what was your strategy and what were you looking for on that particular at bat?
Honestly, I was just looking to get him over the plate, and I was actually pretty surprised that they went to a righty in that case. But as soon as that happened, I knew that I was just hunting him over the plate, and as soon as I saw an off speed up and over the plate, I just jumped on it immediately without, worrying about taking a pitch or anything like that. I was just ready to go and locked in as soon as the inning started.
Tom and then Kevin, excuse me.
Grant, another terrific catch out there, a little attention to the wall. Can you kind of explain that one a little bit, what you saw off the break and how hard you had to actually hit the wall?
It was one of those ones I felt super comfortable in the outfield this year. And, I've been really working this off season and ever since I got here, but just working on my breaks towards the ball and being the most efficient towards taking the most efficient routes towards those balls. As soon as I saw it off the bat, I knew I had it without even worrying about hitting the wall or anything like that. I just knew that as soon as it was up, I was just going to go and get it, and whatever happens, happens. And I just ended up going face first into the wall. But I wasn't worried at all if I was going to miss it or not, because I knew I had it right off the bat.
How hard did you hit that wall?
I cut open my hand a little bit. Not terrible.
Kevin and then John.
Great. You were a freshman 2 years ago when this stadium had kind of big crowds before COVID. What's it been like this year, the challenge of just, having family and friends in the stands? I know you guys tipped your cap to them. That was kind of a nice gesture, but how have you guys managed to kind of summon your energy through all that?
I think the biggest thing was, realizing that it's been a really weird year, and not being used to having fans in the crowd is weird to begin with. But at the same time, I think the biggest thing was not worrying about feeding energy off the fans, but rather each other, and picking each other up when things are going well and picking each other up when things are going bad. So I think, just everybody in the clubhouse loves each other, and we all treat each other like brothers. So I think just, having that mentality and always being with each other, I think that kind of took away any idea of there not being any fans. It was just going out and competing with all of our brothers.
John, and then Aaron.
When you talk about picking each other up after losses, you've had 5 straight before this game. I mean, how did you guys pick yourselves up from those losses, and how big is this win just to get one going into this next series?
Oh, I mean, it's baseball. I mean, stuff happens. You hit the ball hard, goes right to people. Sometimes you don't hit the ball. I mean, that's baseball, and it happens to everyone. But I think, just getting this one out of the way and, starting to kind of click going into this next weekend and going forward, I think is a really big thing. But I think that everybody just kind of came together and told each other that no matter what happens, like, we'll always have each other's backs, no matter win or lose. Like, everybody's just going to give it their all. And if that happens where, the hitters are trying to do as much as they can, hit the ball hard, and it goes right at people, I mean, it's tough. But, I think everybody has a lot of confidence in each other, and the hitters definitely have the pitchers' backs, and I know the pitchers have our backs. But, just going out and being able to trust whoever's on the mound is the biggest thing, and trusting whoever's at bat is also the biggest thing too, and just passing it to each other.
All right, last two for Grant, Aaron, and then Dustin.
Grant, this might be an unanswerable question, but I'm going to try it anyways. Baseball's a weird sport, but the 2 best pitchers you hit this week were TJ Brock and Cade Povich, are the 2 best guys you faced, yet you struggle to get other guys. How does that begin to be explained? It may not be, but obviously the 2 best pitchers were the guys you got best contact against this week.
It's hard to explain. I mean, I think I just stopped thinking. I mean, at that point, I just kind of went out and said, like, this one's for the boys. It's not about me, and it's not about being selfish, and it's not about being selfish to get the other pitchers either. But I think it's a really hard question to answer, just because, I mean, I don't think I have an answer to it other than just being able to stay locked in, especially in key moments.
All right, last one that goes to Dustin.
I know you're just talking about just just the game of baseball and what it's like and whatnot. But sometimes you hit, sometimes you don't. But I mean, do you guys have a sense of what these last 4 mean from you for a tournament perspective? Yeah. Obviously, with the Big Ten being out of the way, I mean, is that something that you guys are thinking about? Did you have a sense of how important this was today to keep you guys alive in that picture?
Yeah, I think we had a pretty good idea going into the weekend, and getting this one out of the way, and getting it going towards the weekend. I think that we're all pretty excited, and we're ready to make our run. And I think we all know the importance of this upcoming weekend and just going forward. So I think everybody's ready to go, and nobody's gonna worry about looking behind us.
All right, thank you, Grant.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Grant.
No, you were right. You called that one. See you, buddy.
All right, head coach Jeff Mercer is here. We'll start with Carl and then Tom.
Coach, second time through the order, it seems like your hitters were being a lot more aggressive, really trying to look for stuff over the plate. Was that a conscious change in what your plan was at that point?
Yeah. I wanted them to be more aggressive really after the first couple of guys. I know the breaking ball was soft, but it was big, and it was a little bit different in trying to get those guys to go earlier and be more aggressive in those counts. And it kind of took to that second time through to kind of get him where we wanted to be at. Kip walks up and hits a line drive, the first pitch of the inning to right field, and you try to get some guys to do it earlier than that even as well. And the second time through, they were able to, Jeremy comes up, hits the first pitch and base hit, and then what was it? Who was it? Drew after that, the single to left, and kind of going from there. But yeah, we were trying to get him to be more aggressive, early in the count and kind of moving. Once you see what he's got, it's kind of time to go.
Tom and then Kevin.
Jeff, during this little stretch, I mean, your pitching actually hasn't been all that bad, but you weren't hitting much. But today you sort of needed them to be great, and they were. Can you talk about all three of those guys?
Yeah, they were terrific. Justin caught a great game, and in John and the rest of those guys were outstanding. And obviously, when you got Ty and Chach there in the back end, you feel really confident. Chach is an adult and has really good stuff. Great competitor, gets off the mound. John's on 1 day's rest and coming back, and those guys are pouring it out, for their teammates. And it was really impressive to watch those guys work. They executed pitch after pitch after pitch and did a terrific job.
And can you explain the decision on the ninth inning, or was there none?
With Machaki?
With staying with Grant.
Yeah, we felt like he was dialed in and stuff was really good. He was hitting sinker in, forcing him away. Changeup was fine. Slider was really good. Great athlete, gets off the mound. We just felt like he was the right guy for that inning, and especially going to the bottom of the order. And, if we don't make the error at second base there, he goes 8-9-1 and it's over. So felt like he was the right guy for that matchup, and great athlete, holds the run game really well. It's just going to be hard for those guys to, outside of hitting a double, it's going to be hard for those guys to string them together with Grant on the mound.
Kevin and then Dustin.
Yeah, Coach, final home game, the players tip their caps to the family and friends in attendance. How do you reflect on this kind of season with limited fans at home throughout the year and how they perform?
Well, I look back at the year in totality, and it's been a really tough year for everybody, not just us, not just baseball, college baseball, and college sports. It's been a tough year for everybody across the world, and it's been a really tough year for these kids, for our kids, for all the kids playing sports. And I think about, as I look back at the last home game, I think back to all the testing and how close we were to getting shut down for a month, and all the different protocols they've had to follow, all the sacrifices these kids have had to make. That most people have no idea the sacrifices these kids have had to make, what they've had to do, their day-to-day life. They've given up everything. They've given up everything. And I think you see it when you have such great ebbs and flows, and you look around the conference, and you can't pick a team that hasn't had a dramatic ebb and a flow, that hasn't gone on a 6 or 8 game win streak and hasn't been swept or lost 3 out of 4, 4 out of 5. I think a lot of it has to do with a lot of the peripheral things, a lot of the emotions that are involved in. The kids are really thankful for the parents. The parents have been incredible. They've been there. I wake up. It's been a tough week. Let's be honest. It's been a tough week. I haven't slept a whole lot. Probably not a lot of people have slept very much. And, I wake up and I have an email from one of the parents, just a really genuine, appreciative, encouraging, sincere email. And it really put the wind in my sails. And I know that, if I'm getting that, then those kids are getting that from their parents and their loved ones and their family. I look up in the stands and I've got my family there on a daily basis. And even through all the things that we've had to go through, it gives them, great encouragement and just a great sense of love. So I was really glad to see the boys do that. So those are the things I think about at the last home game. Just all the sacrifices the kids have made and the families have made. A lot of really tough decisions have been made and implemented, and we've persevered through it. And hopefully we have a couple more weeks left.
Dustin and then John.
Jeff, I guess kind of adding to that, and also I guess a similar question to what you were asked on TV on the Big Ten Network as soon as the game ended. Just from a bubble perspective, how important is today not just getting this win, but also having a sense of momentum to go through this week and into a road series to close out the year?
It's big. Everyone talks about not talking about what you're up against, but we know what we're up against, and we have a sense of that. And it was big. It was big. It was a really fun locker room after the game. It was a great sense of relief. I'll be honest with you. A little bit off topic, but along those lines, I live next door to my parents. My dad coached for a long time, and I got home last night, probably 9 or 9:30, and I walked down to my parents' house and just talking to my dad and asking him some questions. And he always shoots me straight and is always very honest with me and very direct, and he's always a comforting shoulder, but it's always a comforting shoulder with a message like, you need to do a better job or a different job, or you need to find a way. And, I think sometimes as coaches, our instruction is our way of showing that we care, and we invest and we coach and coach and coach, and we try to show that we care by how much we instruct and give of ourselves, sometimes to the point where we can overdo it. And sometimes you have to know when to take your foot off the gas a little bit and to back off. And I think probably, I'm as guilty as the next guy of just try to pour yourself into the kids. And sometimes the kids need you to just be quiet and let them go play baseball. And it's never for a lack of effort, but it was a really good message, from my dad and something that I took to heart. And we had a really good talk today. Not that led to the win or loss. We still scored 2 runs and left guys on base. The pitchers carried the load, but I think those things going into it where you look back and you see that I think we all have responsibility in those things. I know that I do as well. And then going into this week about how we try to prepare ourselves. There are things that we've done wrong, that we did wrong today. There are base running errors that we made. There are miscues that we made. There are opportunities that we left on the field offensively. Sometimes I think the best thing we can do is pat a kid on the back and tell him good job and you're proud of him and keep going. And especially in the environment that they've been through for the last, baseball has been through it for the longest. When you think about the seasons canceled last year, we've been going through this the entire, there's no baseball season. These kids don't learn, through the course of last year. And then you go through it for a whole other year. We've been doing this for coming up on a year and a half. These kids have been doing this, and the other kids are going through it too. But you're looking at, football got to have their season, and they had a lot of games canceled. I know it's tough. Have their season in the fall, and then they're on their way. Basketball has almost all their season last year, and then they have almost their whole season this year, and they're on their way. Baseball and softball and some of those spring sports have been doing this for a year and a half, and these kids should be commended for what they've done with them. I know I'm off topic of your question, but I just felt passionately about you relaying that message that sometimes your best intentions, sometimes you can push too much, especially when all the different pieces are swirling around these kids. And I have to look at myself as well in that and take responsibility in some of those things too.
Just real quick, so I just want to make sure. So your dad told you to ease up. Is that kind of like? And how did he tell it to you? How did he get it across to you?
No, he asked me what I thought was going on, and I kind of gave my 2 cents. And he said, "Well, the best way to find out is to go ask somebody." And I do a lot of individual meetings with guys. I do a lot of behind closed doors meetings with guys all the time. I mean, nobody knows it. The team doesn't know, but I pull guys in all the time. I had a couple this morning, and he had kind of given me an indication. He said, "I know you're trying, and I know you guys are coaching, and we have a great coaching staff, and they're trying so hard to help." And that's the thing about a coach is you're trying to help, you're trying to instruct, you're trying to give feedback, and that's how you like. I kind of joked with the kids today. I said, I always talk about my 2-year-old. He turns 3 next month. I have a 2-year-old and a dog, and my 2-year-old loves that dog. Like, he loves that dog. And he shows that he loves that dog by jerking on his tail about 5 times a day and trying to ride him like a horse. And then my dog turns around and snips at my son. And then all of a sudden you think it's a hurt, not hurt, but you think they're fighting, but in reality, it's just my son saying, "I love you." And it's my dog saying, "Get off my tail, bro." And so I kind of told the kids that today. I said, "Listen, our coaches care. We care about you. I'm so proud of you guys for what you've done. And I don't care about this last week. And I have to look at myself a little bit. We have to look at ourselves, and we have to say that sometimes it's the same story where when I'm trying so hard to help you and instruct you, that's my way of showing that I care and I do love you. And sometimes you're just telling me you need to back off. You need to back off a little bit. Especially when there's so many things on their shoulders." And so that was kind of, he was telling me there's more to the story, and I listened, and not that, again, I'm not taking responsibility. I'm just commending the players as I think about their last home game this year of what all they've done, and all the kids across the country, what they've sacrificed for this. I think it's more than you guys know, but it's more than a lot of people know. And I don't want to get into the Big Ten because it's not my decision and it's made. But without with the reduction of the schedule, without midweeks, and that's not my opinion. I'm just saying, like, those things add into those for the kids as well. And so a lot of those pieces, all the kids across the country done a great job, and we have responsibility to take as well. So that's kind of how it happened. I talked to some kids this morning, and some of those upperclassmen kind of confirmed it. And so I told them, I want you today, I just want you to have as much fun as you can. I want you to enjoy yourself as much as you can. I want the music to be loud. I want you to ride fake horses in the dugout and try to enjoy playing a silly kids game as a grown man. And it was really nice to see they had a fake horse race up and down the dugout today. It's the first time they've done it in a while. They haven't got a cowboy hat, which was great. And it was just nice to see the boys being boys, for a little bit.
All right, we've got time for 3 more. John, Aaron, and then Tom.
You talk about caring. Grant Richardson multiple times this year has run into a wall for a fly ball. I mean, what does that say about him as a player, that he's willing to do that, I guess, to get him out?
Caring has never been a question for those guys. They care sometimes to the point where it can be detrimental. And Grant would literally do anything for his teammates. And there's a lot of guys like that. Morgan Callipy has slammed himself into the right field wall a multitude of times. And I'm going to say this, and I have nothing to do with it, but we do talk about, as a position player, your job first and foremost is to support the pitching staff. It is so incredibly difficult for you to out-hit your poor defense. And so those guys take that seriously. Those guys take it really seriously. It's not my body out there slamming into the wall, but we do talk about it a lot. And those guys, they live it. They really do try hard. I think our outfield play this year has been really, really good. Those guys have given it all they've got, and Grant's taken several hits away and sacrificed his body. And I think it's a great love and concern for their teammates. They want to do well. They want to help. And sometimes it requires you to run into a fence, and if you got to do it, you got to do it.
Aaron, and then Tom.
Coach, given what's gone on with COVID, if you're lucky enough to make the tournament, would you rather be somewhere close like South Bend or Nashville or something like that, or would you rather be like farther away to a more exotic place like Florida or Texas, something you can make it a trip, or even my choice, Oregon, where already be? So that would be my choice. But I mean, what would be your choice, or you just want to get in?
I would take a bid in Anchorage, Alaska, and I would coach in shorts and no shirt. I don't care where we go, and I don't care. It doesn't matter to me. I just want to go, and I want to go try to compete, and I want to try to represent this university in the best way that we can.
Last one for Tom.
Jeff, yesterday you said, still work to be done, and you got work done today. But how much does just simply getting the win today let everybody sort of breathe a little bit for a few days before you head off to Maryland?
Yeah, it does. It does. I won't sit here and give you coach talk and say all this. It does. It's a big deal. Just for them, just to listen to them play they have a victory song they play in the locker room afterwards. And just to listen to them play the song, and just to watch, I walk by and they're doing their dances and jumping up and down and jumping off the couches and just being, young men and kids, and just watching them have fun. And for a couple of days, they get to enjoy it. Then for a couple of days, they get to soak it in and enjoy it. And then it's going to be back, on a flight and on the grind and all those different things and competing like crazy. But it just made I felt so happy for them. It made my heart feel good, made my soul feel good. And then you go into this weekend with life. You go into this weekend with life. And I really do believe that. You go into this weekend with life, and we're going to have our work cut out, but you give yourself a chance at least.